YouTube viewers, oversteer readers, it's time for everybody's favorite event. It's time to choose the next Doug car. That's right, I sold my Aston Martin months ago, I sold my little Nissan S-Cargo last month, and now it's time for you to help me choose the car that I'm going to use to entertain you for the next few months. Now, for those of you who haven't really participated in this before, yes, I am actually asking you for help to decide my next car, and yes, I will buy what you tell me. I've done this before. In fact, I've done it 6 times. My very first ever Doug car was a Cadillac CTS-V station wagon that I used to drive across the country. My next Doug car was a Ferrari 360 Modena. I strapped a TV to the roof of that thing and I took it to the drag strip. My next Doug car was a giant military-style Hummer, except it was painted yellow. I took it to a racetrack and I used it to run over a PT Cruiser. Next, I had a Nissan Skyline GTR, your #1 suggestion that year, and I had a lot of fun with that thing, including once I went backwards through a drive-thru because the steering wheel was on the other side. More recently, I had last year the Aston Martin, which was a blast. I drove it all the way across the country and took it flat out on the Bonneville Salt Flats. And now, of course, I have the Viper, which you guys recommended to me, and which I used to teach my friend to drive stick shift, among various other things. So now it's time for the next Doug car, and oh, what a suggest-a-thon it will be. But before you make any suggestions, there are a couple of rules. Rule number 1 is how you make your suggestions. I would prefer if all the suggestions came in on autotrader.com/oversteer on the column I'm writing about this topic specifically. It's a lot easier for me to keep track of them that way, but I know you people will not do that. And so I will also take suggestions from YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, wherever else this gets posted. I will take those suggestions, but I can't promise I'm going to count all of the suggestions from all of those places. I will promise that I will count all of the suggestions from Oversteer. And remember, if you see someone make a car suggestion, don't just like it. Make the suggestion again yourself, because it's easier for me to count up the total number of suggestions that way. Now, if you're going to make the suggestion on Twitter or on Facebook, please use the hashtag DougCar so that I can find it a little bit easier. Rule number 2, almost as important, the budget. Don't suggest to me Mercedes G-Wagon 6x6. Don't suggest Ferrari F40. I'd like to keep this thing in the $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 range tops, but far more important than the budget is the depreciation. I don't want a car that's going to lose a lot of value. So I'd rather go over budget and get something for $80,000 than buy a new car for $35,000 and lose 20 grand in the first year. The goal here is to buy the car in January, sell it near the end of the year, and sort of not really lose all that much money. Now, I know that no car is going to depreciate 0 unless I get some classic Ferrari for $10 million. So I'm willing to lose a little bit of money. Don't let that be the only thing you think about when making suggestions. But I definitely don't want some car that I'm going to lose $40,000 on this year. Those are bad suggestions. I will take them, I will write them down, and then I'm going to laugh at you. Rule number 3, and this is the single most important rule of them all. This year's Doug car needs to be a truck or an SUV or a crossover or a pickup or something of that variety. You see, I've had 3 sports cars in a row, the Viper, the Skyline, the Aston Martin, and I'm going to keep the Viper for at least another few months and do a few more videos with it, so it's not like I won't have a sports car, but SUVs are hot right now. I haven't had an SUV since the Hummer 4 Doug cars ago, so you have the parameters, the budget, where you make your suggestions, and the vehicle type. An SUV, a truck, something of that sort. Now make your suggestions with those things in mind. I will count up all of the suggestions, as I always do, no matter what you suggest, even if it's not a truck or an SUV as you've been instructed, even if it's over budget, despite the fact that I gave you the budget, even if you make your suggestion through email or text message, I'll count them all up. And then in a couple of weeks, I'm going to make a big post and video with all of the suggestions that you gave to me. I'll tell you all the statistics, what you suggested, what was the most popular, blah, 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 blah. And then hopefully a couple weeks after that, I'll buy whatever it is that you suggested, and then we'll have a fun year driving it around and doing videos with it. So with that all in mind, let the Doug car begin. Bring it on. Give me your suggestions. I can't wait to hear what you tell me to get.